You're 34 years old, and nobody knows your name anymore. Not in the way that matters. Your college friends have group chats you're not in. Your family asks how the job search is going with the careful tone people use around broken things. Your phone doesn't buzz unless it's a promotional email or your mom checking if you're still alive. You didn't plan this. Nobody does. You had a job 2 years ago, a decent one, the kind where you wore business casual and complained about meetings like everyone else. Then the company restructured. That's what they called it. Restructured. Like they were building something better, and you just happened to be standing where the new wall needed to go. You got severance. 3 months. You thought that was plenty of time. It wasn't. The first few months, you applied to everything. 50 applications, then 100. Then you stopped counting because the number made you feel worse than the silence. When you did get interviews, they'd ask what you'd been doing since your last role. You'd say looking for the right opportunity, and they'd nod with a face that said, "We're going to hire someone who doesn't have a 2-year gap on their resume." Mid-career professionals are stuck in what experts call a quiet bottleneck. You're experienced but not rare. Expensive to hire but not indispensable. Qualified but invisible in a job market that's algorithmically filtered before a human ever sees your name. The money ran out faster than you expected. Unemployment helped until it didn't. Savings became grocery money. Grocery money became deciding between paying rent or paying for internet, and you kept the internet because you can't apply for jobs without it, even though applying for jobs hasn't worked in 18 months. Your apartment is the same one you moved into when you had the good job. Back then, it felt temporary, a place to sleep between a life that was happening elsewhere. Now, it's the only place that knows you exist. The walls have heard you on the phone with your mom lying about interviews that went well. The kitchen has watched you eat the same pasta 4 nights in a row because it's cheap and you've stopped pretending to care. The bathroom mirror has seen you practice smiling before video calls with recruiters who ghost you 3 days later. Dating stopped making sense around month 7 of unemployment. Not because you didn't want to, because explaining your situation on a first date feels like handing someone a signed confession. You tried for a while, made a profile, swiped, matched with a few people, got as far as making plans twice. Both times you canceled the morning of because sitting across from someone and pretending you have your life together sounded exhausting in a way you couldn't push through. 37% of adults in your age group use dating apps, but what they don't tell you is how draining it is when you've got nothing to offer except honesty. And honesty at 34 without a job sounds like failure no matter how you frame it. The average age for first marriage is 28 for women and 30 for men. You're past that. You're in the part of life where people have already paired off, where the group hangs are couple hangs, where being single isn't fun and adventurous anymore. It's just a status that makes people ask if you're okay with a look that says they've already decided you're not. 50% of Americans are single right now, so you're statistically normal. But statistics don't keep you company at 2 in the morning when you're awake because your sleep schedule doesn't matter anymore, and the silence in your apartment is so thick you can hear your neighbor's refrigerator hum through the wall. The loneliness is the part nobody talks about correctly. It's not sadness. Sadness has a shape. This is more like absence. It's the slow realization that you can go 4 days without speaking out loud to another human being. It's seeing a notification on your phone and feeling a spike of something that might be hope, then seeing it's a spam call and feeling the floor drop out again. It's knowing that if something happened to you, it would take someone a while to notice. Unemployed people are 2.1 times more likely to report chronic loneliness. That's not a coincidence. Work isn't just a paycheck. It's structure. It's a reason to shower. It's people who know your name even if they don't know you. Without it, the days blur. Monday feels like Thursday. October feels like March. You lose track because tracking time requires events, and events require a life that's moving. 30% of adults aged 18 to 34 report feeling lonely every day or several times a week. That's higher than any other age group, which surprises people because everyone assumes the elderly are the loneliest. But old people had time to build something before it disappeared. You're watching the possibility of building anything dissolve in real time. The worst part isn't the unemployment or the singleness or even the loneliness. The worst part is how they feed each other. No job means no money, means no dates, means no reason to leave the apartment, means more time alone, means harder to explain the gap, means harder to get a job, means no money, means staying single, means more isolation. It's a loop, and every rotation makes the next one tighter. You're not special. The data proves that. But knowing you're not alone in this doesn't make your apartment any less quiet. You start noticing the physical symptoms around month 7. Your chest feels tight for no reason. Your heart does this thing where it speeds up randomly, like your body is preparing for danger that isn't there. You read about it later and find out social isolation increases your risk of heart disease by 29% and stroke by 32%. The mortality impact of being this disconnected is similar to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Your body is treating loneliness like a physical threat because, in evolutionary terms, it is one. Isolation meant death when we lived in smaller groups. Your nervous system hasn't updated its software. You sleep wrong now. Too much or not enough, never the right amount. You'll go 36 hours without sleeping, then crash for 14. Your appetite does the same thing. 3 days of forgetting to eat, then consuming everything in your kitchen at 2 in the morning standing over the sink. Your brain is running on fumes and it's starting to show in ways you can't hide anymore. The mirror becomes something you avoid. 81% of lonely adults report struggling with anxiety or depression. You don't need the statistic, you've got the symptoms. The constant low-grade dread. The inability to feel excited about anything. The way good news from a friend lands flat because you can't access the part of you that used to care about things outside your own survival. You're not sad exactly. You're just not anything. Numb is the wrong word because numb implies you're protected from feeling. This is more like feeling everything and nothing simultaneously until it averages out to static. The internet tells you to join clubs, take classes, volunteer. 44% of adults were volunteering regularly in 2010. Now it's 34%. The third places are disappearing. The bars, churches, civic clubs, libraries, parks where casual social life used to happen without planning are either gone or empty. You tried the library once. Sat there for 2 hours. Nobody talked to anyone. Everyone had headphones. You left feeling more isolated than when you arrived. Dating apps become a second job you're not qualified for. You rewrite your profile 6 times, trying to make unemployment sound like a gap year, or a transition period, or literally anything other than what it is. You match with someone. They ask what you do. You try honesty. They stop responding. You match with someone else. You lie. They want to meet. You panic because meeting means maintaining the lie in person, and you're too tired for that level of performance. You delete the app. You re-download it 3 days later. The cycle repeats. 57% of non-working adults report feeling isolated compared to 40% of employed people and 34% of retirees. Employment isn't just income. It's proof you're participating. It's a reason to exist in public space. Without it, you become invisible in a way that's hard to articulate to people who've never experienced it. You're not homeless. You're not starving. You're just erased from the daily machinery of normal life. And once you're out, getting back in requires energy you don't have. The pandemic made all of this worse for everyone, but it never really ended for people like you. The loneliness index spiked to 61% in 2020. By 2023, it only came back down to 58%. Lockdowns ended, but the habits stuck. People forgot how to be around each other. Or maybe they realized they preferred not to be. Either way, the world that came back isn't the one that left. You think about calling your mom. You don't because you know how the conversation will go. She'll ask if you're eating enough, sleeping enough, applying to enough jobs. She'll suggest things that made sense in 1995 and don't apply now. She'll end the call worried, and you'll feel guilty for making her worried. And nothing will have improved except now you both feel worse. There's a version of this story where you hit rock bottom and then claw your way back up through sheer determination. This isn't that story. Rock bottom implies there's somewhere solid to stand. What you're experiencing is more like free fall with no ground in sight. Some days you apply to jobs. Some days you don't. Some days you leave the apartment. Some days you don't. The inconsistency isn't laziness. It's what happens when your baseline state is survival mode, and anything beyond that requires reserves you no longer have. Recovery is possible. The research says so. It requires intentional effort, rebuilding social connections, addressing the underlying factors. But intentional effort requires intention, and intention requires hope, and hope requires evidence that things can change. You're looking for that evidence. You haven't found it yet. 34. Unemployed, single, alone in an apartment that costs too much in a world that's moving forward without you. You're not special. Millions of people are living some version of this right now. But knowing that doesn't make your specific version any easier to endure. It just means the quiet you're sitting in has company. Even if that company is invisible and silent and just as stuck as you are. The truth is, there's no neat resolution to this. No third act breakthrough that makes everything make sense. You're still 34. Still unemployed. Still single. Still alone in that apartment with the humming refrigerator next door. Tomorrow won't be different just because you've named what's happening. But maybe naming it matters anyway. Maybe understanding that 57% of non-working adults feel exactly what you're feeling doesn't fix it, but at least confirms you're not losing your mind. The loop is real. The bottleneck is real. The absence where your life used to be is real. And somewhere in the same city, the same country, the same scroll through at 3 in the morning internet, someone else is sitting in their version of your apartment feeling their version of your absence. You're not connected to them. You can't be. But you're both here, in the same unfinished story, waiting for something to shift. It hasn't shifted yet. That doesn't mean it won't. It just means right now, at 34, this is where you are. And the only thing you know for certain is that the refrigerator is still humming, and you're still hearing it, and that means you're still here. And that means you're